She survived the monster in a lab coat. It happened in the safest place she thought she could be. Not in a dark alley. Not in an empty parking lot. But in a brightly lit hospital in the middle of the day. The man wore a lab coat, a smile, and a license to heal. But what he did behind closed doors was closer to a horror story. This is not fiction. This is America. And she lived to tell it. At just 23, Naomi Carter was a nursing student with dreams bigger than her budget. Raised by a single mother in the south side of Atlanta, she knew struggle, but she also knew purpose. So when she landed an internship at one of the top teaching hospitals in the state, it felt like her entire life was shifting forward. Everyone said Dr. Maddox was brilliant. I believed them. He spoke to me with respect. He gave me extra time during my rounds. I thought he was mentoring me. I didn't see it for what it was. Not at first. Dr. Julian Maddox was a rising star in internal medicine. With Harvard credentials and a trail of patient success stories, he wore prestige like a second skin. But behind his perfect posture and calm tone was a predator. It started with small things. Unasked compliments. Hands lingering a second too long. Naomi dismissed them like many women are taught to. After all, he never crossed a clear line. Until the day he did. I was just reviewing patient files. He walked in and closed the door. Said he wanted to check on my progress. But his eyes, they didn't match his words. I remember the way he locked the door. That's when I knew this wasn't about medicine. In broad daylight, in a hospital that should have protected her, Naomi was assaulted by the very man who had signed off on her internship. The walls were thin, but no one came. She screamed, but not with her voice. She froze. She didn't go to the police. Not yet. Like too many survivors, she questioned herself first. She replayed every moment. Blamed her own smile. Her ambition. Even her silence. I kept telling myself maybe it wasn't what I think it was. Maybe I overreacted. But my body knew the truth. It knew something had been taken. Dr. Maddox went on with his day as if nothing had happened. He greeted patients. Led rounds. Wore his lab coat like armor. Naomi? She cried in the staff restroom until the shift ended. When Naomi finally reported the assault, she expected justice. What she got was protocol. Paperwork. Meetings with risk managers. Warnings to think carefully about the future of her career. They told me if I went public, it could ruin my chances of ever being hired in the medical field. They didn't say he was innocent. They just said he was important. And when the hospital put her on temporary leave for her emotional well-being, Naomi realized the monster wasn't just one man. It was a whole system built to protect him. She could have stayed silent. Many do. But something in Naomi snapped into place. The same strength that carried her through nursing school, the one that survived a predator in daylight, began to fight back. I found other women. Former interns. Former patients. One by one their stories matched mine. And suddenly, I wasn't just speaking for myself anymore. Naomi and 6 other women filed formal complaints. One of them went public. The media got involved. Suddenly, the monster in the lab coat wasn't just her nightmare anymore. He was national news. But not everyone wanted the truth to come out. Naomi was followed. Threatened. Online she was called a liar. At work her name became a whisper. Dr. Maddox's lawyers were everywhere. In the hospital, silent. I thought telling the truth would set me free. But I didn't realize the price I'd have to pay just to be believed. 1 year after the assault, Naomi stood in front of the state board. She wasn't just a survivor anymore. She was a whistleblower. But when Dr. Maddox arrived, calm, clean, confident, the courtroom held its breath. I looked him in the eyes. And I didn't flinch. I didn't care if I cried. I didn't care if they doubted me. I was going to say it out loud. Everything he did. And then, something happened that I never expected. What Naomi didn't know was that her fight was just beginning. The monster in the lab coat wasn't finished. And neither was she. State medical board hearing still in session. Naomi sits with her lawyer. Tension electrifies the room. The woman who entered that room wasn't on the list. She was a surprise witness. Her name was Carmen Lewis, a former patient of Dr. Maddox. She was older, poised, and her presence altered the energy of the room. Carmen on the stand. I was under his care in 2016 following a car accident. I was sedated, groggy from painkillers. But I remember him coming into my room at night and touching me in ways a doctor should never touch a patient. Gasps rippled through the gallery. The board members exchanged glances. Carmen had never filed a report. She had told no one. Until Naomi's story gave her courage. Carmen softly. I didn't think anyone would believe me. But when I saw her on the news, I knew I had to speak. Her testimony broke the dam. Within days, more women contacted Naomi's legal team. A former janitor revealed that the hospital had quietly settled with a nurse in 2017. The hospital's silence was no longer neutral. It was complicity. Naomi's apartment, walls covered with legal notes, statements, newspaper clippings. It was bigger than me now. Every time a woman called, emailed, or whispered her truth, I felt this growing responsibility. Not just to speak, but to win. Naomi's attorney filed a civil suit. Not just against Dr. Maddox, but against Crescent Ridge Medical Center. The charges: sexual assault, negligence, hostile work environment, and conspiracy to cover misconduct. They didn't just ignore red flags. They buried them. And in doing so, they endangered countless lives. Naomi receives anonymous emails, threatening messages. One night, her car tires are slashed. Not everyone wanted the truth exposed. Anonymous accounts flooded her social media. Trolls accused her of lying for fame. One night, Naomi returned home to find her apartment door ajar. Nothing stolen. Just disturbed. That night, I sat with a knife under my pillow. Not because I thought he would come, but because someone might. Still, she didn't back down. Security cameras were installed. The police got involved. But the threats only made her resolve stronger. If they were trying to scare me into silence, they forgot who they were dealing with. I wasn't that scared intern anymore. Civil trial begins. Naomi testifies again. This time the courtroom is packed. Press is everywhere. The trial lasted 3 weeks. One by one the women took the stand. Some wept. Some screamed. Some spoke in chilling calm. Each story different, yet eerily similar. He used his title as a weapon. He wore that lab coat like armor, knowing it would protect him. But it's time that armor was stripped away. Dr. Maddox's defense was relentless. His lawyers questioned every memory, attacked every motive. But by the end, the weight of the testimonies was undeniable. And then came the bombshell. An internal email uncovered during discovery. Sent from a hospital administrator to legal counsel. Subject line: Dear Maddox situation. Body. Contain exposure. Do not engage media. Protect assets. The jury deliberated for 2 days. When the verdict came, the courtroom held its breath. Judge: we, the jury, find in favor of the plaintiff Naomi Carter and award compensatory damages of $5 million and punitive damages of $10 million. The courtroom erupted. Naomi sat frozen, tears streaming silently. Not because of the money, but because she had been believed. Finally, news reports show Dr. Maddox being arrested. His license suspended. Hospital under federal investigation. After the civil suit, the criminal case followed. More women came forward. Some cases within the statute of limitations. Dr. Maddox was arrested on multiple counts of sexual assault. His medical license was revoked. Crescent Ridge faced class action lawsuits. The hospital's CEO resigned. Federal oversight was ordered. The system that protected him for years was finally crumbling. Naomi at a survivors' conference, standing before a crowd of hundreds. We're told to trust doctors, and most of them deserve it. But when that trust is abused, when our bodies are violated, and when institutions bury the truth to save themselves, we must rise. We must roar. Not just for ourselves, but for the women too scared to speak. For the ones they silenced. For the ones they never believed. 2 years later, Naomi has graduated. She's launched an organization called Scrub the Silence, advocating for hospital accountability and survivors of medical assault. Naomi didn't just rebuild her life. She rebuilt a system. Her nonprofit now trains hospitals on consent education, offers legal support to victims, and lobbies for reform in medical ethics. She speaks at universities, testifies before Congress, and has helped pass 2 state-level laws mandating stricter reporting protocols for medical misconduct. Healing isn't linear. Some days I still wake up angry. But then I remember the girls who email me saying, "Your story gave me strength." That's the power of truth. It echoes. It survives.